Welcome to the Value Builder Podcast, where we focus on real estate with a value-add mindset. Real strategies, real operators, real outcomes. Let's dive in.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Value Builder community. Today, I have a treat for you. It really doesn't get better than this. Today, I have my friend who I know for quite some time, and we haven't talked for at least probably a couple of years. So I'm super excited to chase him down. His name is Brad Chandler. He is a legend by himself, and I'm super happy to have him here. We're gonna talk today. We'll touch on real estate, but also we'll talk about Brad's newest endeavor in his life. We're gonna talk all about productivity, how to lift limiting beliefs. And you guys who are in real estate, that's going to be really good tool to have and learn so you can expand your magic. So Brad, fire away. Tell us who you are, what do you do, and just give us your 2 minutes commercial to my audience.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. What do I do? I fix and flip and wholesale about 300 houses a year in the DC metro and Baltimore metro markets. We have a team of about 20 people, and we're growing. We had one of our best months ever recently. So that's what I do most of my time. However, in the last 4 years, I went through a major life transformation trying to get my son help for anxiety. And in a 3-hour session with this ex-Navy SEAL, my life changed so profoundly that I decided I had to give this gift back to other people. So other than the last 4 months of jumping back into express home buyers, the last 3 or 4 years were spent learning and spending thousands of hours studying under some of the world's best on how do we remove limiting hidden beliefs that are buried in our subconscious mind that were programmed into us during childhood that are negatively affecting our relationships, our business, our health, everything. So that's what I've done. And I've literally saw the last 4.5 years of my life have been the best 4.5 years of my life, like by far.
All right. So can we get into it? So tell us what has changed exactly. What, for example, you changed within your life, and maybe we can get in that technique a little bit deeper.
Yeah. So for starters, I used to drink and use marijuana quite frequently as a way to, I didn't know at the time, but make me feel more comfortable, make me change the state that I didn't really like. So that's one thing that's changed. My net worth has grown by, a multiple of any other 4-year period in my life. My business has probably never been in better shape. The chaos has been removed. We're methodically growing. I'm in the best relationship of my life. At 52 years old, I am in the best shape and health I've ever been in. I was at the beach recently, and this 20-year-old kid like flagged me down. He's like, "Dude, what do you freaking do for a workout?" He's like, "You're ripped." So
Yeah.
I told him, and I'm like, "Hey, by the way, how old do you think I am?" He's like, "Well, your body looks like you're 35. What are you, 40, 42?" And I'm like, "Dude, you just made my day. Thank you." I just turned 52. So when I say everything has changed, so I spend so little of my life now. And when I mean so little, I'm talking about like a tenth of percent of my life in a triggered or anxious or angry state. It's completely gone. And why? Because I removed these beliefs that I didn't even know I had until I was 47 years old. Gosh, I guess it's been 5 years since my transformation. So at 47 years old, I figured out that because of the shit I went through in my childhood, and we all go through shit, and we
Yeah.
all place meanings on the shit and the stuff that we go through. Well, the meaning that I placed that is so commonplace with so many of the human beings on this planet is that there was something wrong with me. I wasn't enough. That feeling of not being enough drove $9 million worth of business mistakes, 2 divorces, eating unhealthy, smoking weed, drinking too much, being pissed off too much, having vindictive, holding grudges against people. All of that was driven by this inner source, this inner feeling of I'm not enough. And once I reprogrammed my mind, like now we do with our clients, again, everything in my life has changed. And literally every day just keeps getting better and better.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's not enough. I think that's entire coaching or development, the self-help industry is built on the premises that we just not enough, right? I think I started scratching that surface a couple years ago also about really believing and being grateful for everything what we have. But I don't want to go on my tangent. I'm really curious to know if we're going to be able to get in a little bit of understanding or techniques how you do this. It's probably not enough on this call to get to the bottom, but Can I imagine maybe it's almost something in a coaching therapy and going deep and then maybe in hypnosis, but I don't want to speculate. Can you
Yeah.
conceptualize how does that work?
Of course. Amazing question. Really great question. So all change begins with awareness. So if I was listening to this podcast 6 years ago and this real estate guy was talking about how he changed his life and he did it by changing his beliefs and he went from lack of self-love to extreme self-love, I'd have been like, that's great. Great for him, but I don't have any problems. Who doesn't smoke some weed? Who doesn't have marital problems? Who doesn't have kids with anxiety problems? Someone's going to listen to the show though, and they're going to take the next step and their whole life is going to change. And not only their life, but their children's life. Because when you heal, your kids are going to change and they're going to actually match with different people. And we'll get into that more later. But let's start with the basics. All change begins with awareness. I had no idea what my problem was. I kept trying to be a better husband, a better father, a better business person. And I went to all these freaking masterminds and Tony Robbins. I didn't go to his events, but I listened to a lot of his stuff. Went to Ziegler, and nothing really was like, I couldn't get over the hump, right? And it was because no one talks about the subconscious mind. It's rarely spoken about. When you go to therapy, all they want to talk about is, oh, you have anxiety, let's teach you some breathing techniques. Oh, you have marital problems, let's teach you how to hold her hand or repeat back what she says or take her on more date nights. That shit doesn't work. Relationship problems, by the way, Saul, are never the actual relationship. It's the relationship each individual has with themselves. So if you want your marriage to fix, don't worry about changing your spouse. Worry about changing yourself. I had Jason Byrne, who was a client, who has publicly said this because I hold myself, although I'm not a doctor, in terms of confidentiality, I hold myself in the same esteem in terms of confidentiality. However, Jason has publicly said this. It's on my site. He came to me 2 years ago and his marriage was about to end. Now their marriage is thriving. I never met his wife. I never talked to her. I never had a marriage counseling session, but I got him to change, and that changed their marriage. So how do you change? You've got to have awareness. 6 years ago, I had no awareness. So we created this quiz. It's a self-love quiz on our website at unlocklimitlessyou.com. It takes 3 minutes. It's 12 questions. Start there. Go take it. And if you score lack of self-love or mild self-love, that's an indication that I promise you every single area of your life is negatively affected.
Brad, can you also say what's I'll post in the YouTube on the comments then the URL, but someone who's living on his Spotify, what's the name of the website?
So the website is unlocklimitlessyou.com, and at the top of it, it's got a quiz. Just click the quiz and take it. You're going to get the results instantaneously, either extreme self-love, which about 7% of the takers have scored, or you're going to fall into the mild self-love or lack of self-love. If you fall into one of the bottom two categories, don't be woe is me, this sucks. Be just the opposite. Be like, oh my God, my life can get so much better, because I can promise you, your life can probably improve in ways that you can't even imagine right now. If you score lack of self-love or mild self-love, I promise you, your relationships aren't thriving, your business isn't thriving, your health isn't thriving, your fatherhood, your motherhood, whatever it is, isn't thriving. So start there, okay? So now you've taken the quiz and you've got negative self-love or lack of self-love, and you think about your relationship with your wife or your husband, you're like, God, I wish it was better. I wish my kids didn't misbehave. I wish I wasn't 60 pounds overweight. I wish my business didn't have constant chaos and cash flow issues. Well, you want to know the reason why? This is the reason why. You don't need another mastermind. You don't need another marketing plan. Most people's problems in this world are tied back to the programming. If you have a problem in your life, it's a thinking problem. And the thinking problem is not your fault. When you're little Johnny, or we'll take me for example, when dad's hitting me with a belt and making fun of me, if I had the ability to look at my father and say, he's the problem, guess what? I'm helpless. No one wants to be helpless. So what do we do as kids? Anytime we go through a situation that's traumatic or stressful, or our needs aren't being met, or our control is taken away, we blame it on ourselves. Little Brad was saying, he's spanking me and hitting me with a belt, making fun of me because there must be something wrong with me. Guess what, Saul? Now I can control it. All I've got to do is be a little bit better and daddy will love me. So it actually helps us when we're growing up. But at 42 years old, when you're buying a 42-foot boat and you've never owned a boat in your life and you're taking it to the Bahamas, when you can't even read a chart, that's what I did, to prove something that I didn't even know I had to prove, that becomes a real problem. So how do you solve this? That was your original question. You got to become aware of it. So now you're aware of it with this quiz. What are you going to do? We use something called memory reconsolidation that probably 1/100th of therapists and life coaches in the world even know about. It was founded back in like 2000, just 25 years ago. And it's a process to rewrite the neural pathway that's holding the negative emotions that are causing you the problems in the first place. If you've lost weight, put it back on. Your spouse, your marriage sucks, your business sucks. It's all because of this thinking. And it's just your brain doing its job trying to survive. So it's not your fault. So what you do through memory reconsolidation is you get in the state that you want to change. So if you're coming to me with depression or anxiety, I literally would put you in that state. What does that do? It makes that neural pathway in the neurons light labile, which is a fancy term for changeable. And then what we do is we rewrite the story. So in my case, dad hits me with a belt. I'm no good. It's my fault. I retell that story 3 times over and over again. And literally, you rewrite the neural pathway that's holding those. So that's what I essentially did in that 3-hour session. He did it a little different, used some different things, but it had the same outcome. Now I wake up every day. I don't drink anymore, so or barely. So I wake up every day feeling great, feeling energized for the day. And there's none of this like, oh, you're a schmuck, you got to go prove. And that's why everything changed. So that's how you do it. Whether you come to me or someone else, make sure you go to someone who knows memory reconsolidation. If you're with a therapist and you've been going to therapy like I did for 3 decades and pretty much got nowhere, this is the reason. They don't know memory reconsolidation. They don't really know how to recode your brain properly.
So memory consolidation, what they just put you in the state pretty much on that memory, and what do you do with that memory at that point?
So it's a memory, it's a memory or multiple memories that are connected. If you came to me with anxiety, let's say, let's use a real client, again, not using any names, but I had a gentleman come to me and he was going through a bad divorce and just angry all the time. That's what it was. So we did this. We went back and we found times in his life that he really couldn't even recall. We always remember everything. So if you're like, oh, I don't remember my childhood, you may not be able to recall it, but in the 3rd trimester, you start forming a memory. And that memory is emboldened in the subconscious mind and it never leaves you. And here's why. It's a survival thing. That your subconscious mind is only around for one reason. It's for survival. If you're 8 years old and the bush is shaking, and you don't do anything, and a lion jumps out and bites your arm, 20 years from now, when you see that bush shaking, you're going to get anxious and think there's danger there. So it's a survival thing. It doesn't always serve us that though now because we don't have lions jumping out and trying to kill us. So back to the client. He comes to me with anger. We do the memory consolidation. He changes. I'm on a call with him because we have this amazing weekly tribe mastermind call. I'm on a call with him like a year later. He goes, Brad, I got to ask you something. He goes, I just was on vacation and we rented a high rise at Myrtle Beach and we were on one of the 15th or 16th floor. He goes, I always had this really bad fear of heights. He goes, I didn't have any fear. I'm standing on the edge looking over. He goes, does that have anything to do with the work we did? I was like, hello. Yes, it does. Because you pick a memory solve, but that one memory is connected to so many things. So you don't need to go through 60 memories. You need to find the one. And what you do is you tell yourself the real truth in a different story. You're literally rewriting the neural pathway by telling it another story 3 times in a row. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, yeah. Totally. I mean, I get the gist, I get understanding how it's done.
They
It
didn't know
sounds
that.
fascinating.
It's so fascinating. It is so fascinating. When I live now and I look around and I go on vacation, I was at CG and you see all of these people in triggered states and you see these super overweight people and you see people smoking cigarettes and getting drunk. First of all, I used to go to judgment and judge those people. But if you're judging another human being, you're really judging yourself. You're just projecting something inside yourself that's not settled. But I'm looking at all these people and Saul, it's the same exact reason. Why is there a war going on right now in all over in these multiple places? Why do we have sex trafficking? Why are our prisons full? Why are our hospitals full? And by the way, when you don't fix this stuff, a friend of mine who was on my podcast. I have a podcast called How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. It's ranked in the top 2%. So if you like this stuff, check it out. But this guy says, listen, if you have these problems that you haven't fixed from childhood, you either fix them or the universe fixes them through cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's, heart disease, death. It will get you. So you've got to figure it out. So all of these people that have all of these struggles, brother, it's the same reason. Every single person, it's the same reason. It's the shit in their head that's causing them the stress. People think that they're all stressed out because of traffic and their business is going bad. No, It's not. It's because of what they're thinking 30 years ago that's bringing it in. I made a Facebook post the other day that said, there's really no reason to get worked up. You get worked up because you bring meaning into a meaningless event.
Amazing. So, another question begs right away. So how long you mentioned 3 hours. So is that like one and done, or you have to keep going back to the same memory and you keep adjusting?
So it's really ironic because it was 3 hours where my life forever changed, and I've now worked with Yvonne and I have worked with 100 clients, and we do use hypnosis as a tool, and the reason is because hypnosis, we feel, is the best tool on the planet to actually access your subconscious mind, which is holding all of these. Your subconscious mind today knows the source of all of your problems. So in the third session, which would be the start of like hour 3 to hour 5, because it's a 2-hour session, that's when people have major breakthroughs. I mean, major, major shifts. Now, some people can just, after that, just literally be fine for the rest of their lives. Most people, just like anything, you learn a new golf swing, you have a couple great rounds, you need to keep practicing it. So that's why we have the tribe that meets weekly to keep practicing it. But you'll initially have this major, major impact and major, major shift.
Makes sense. Okay. So, so that's pretty much done in a group setting, right? Or do we have to fly in and see in
No,
person, or that's on
that's
a
actually
Zoom
that
like that?
that's actually one-on-one. It's a 5-week program via Zoom. And then also there's a group component where you have other people who are also on the journey to change their lives that are on that call. So it's a mix of one-on-one and group coaching.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, it's really, really fascinating how it went from real estate to this. And I guess that's just very rewarding too. It's definitely not a big business empire proposition compared to what we do in real estate, right?
No, I never did. I never did it to become rich. And this is an important thing. You asked what changed in my life. When I realized that I was enough and it was just my parents who didn't feel enough, I literally felt this weight come off of my chest. Because for 47 years, I was trying so hard to make a ton of money because I thought if I made a ton of money, that would prove my worth and people would love me. And what I realized, Saul, is that I don't need to prove anything anymore. All I want to do here on this earth is make an impact. And when I shifted from trying to make money to help myself feel better to just focusing on making an impact in people's lives, that's when my net worth climbed like never before. So we've got all these entrepreneurs, including myself, that start a business and they say, when I can get to $10 million or whatever your number is, I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to have all this time, blah, blah, blah. The truth is that will never happen. And here's why, because nothing outside of yourself can bring you happiness. That's why there's billionaires today that are contemplating suicide. The beautiful thing about the work that I've done and that we continue to do with clients is that we can teach you how to get to the state that you think $10 million will bring you. We can teach you how to do that in a 5-week session. When you get to that place that you think money can get you, then you are much more likely to actually get to the place you wanted to go because, like me, you aren't doing it to feel better about yourself. You're doing it to create impact in the world.
Uh-huh.
So many things in life are the exact opposite of what we think.
Yeah. So on that note, do you have a way of simplifying and describing how this method, for example, helps to remove your limiting beliefs? Because a lot of times, yeah, I think we talked about, weight, obesity, work, bad relationship, but also there is only we have those limits, I believe, probably perhaps are related to the same thing. So how does it work, do you think, with removing those limits? Is that also rooted to the memory, or or there's a different concept how we remove the limits?
Oh, it's all intertwined. So I just talked to a dear friend that I've been known since college, and he has been he's probably presented me 50 real estate deals in the last 10 years, and he hasn't closed on one. And we had this really deep conversation yesterday where he was telling me that he's always kind of underachieved. He actually had an opportunity to, a lot of people would say that he could have played in the NFL. He played for a major college football program. And he finally told me that he quit because he thought that he wasn't deserving of it. Why should he have he quoted, this is like, he's like, why should I have a $6 million contract? So there's a perfect example. I've had other people that I've known where as soon as they get to like $1 million in revenue, they self-sabotage and they go down and they lose money. I don't know if that was my case, but I certainly I made 5 business mistakes that cost me and my partner $9 million. I don't know if it was self-sabotage or it was a combination of taking crazy risks because I felt like if I could make a lot of money, people would care about me and would love me and I'd be safe. So one of those 2 reasons, which are both rooted in the same problem, cost me $9 million. So you've got people on your team. If you're an entrepreneur listening to this, which you probably are, you've got people on your team that have these limiting beliefs. They may go into houses and it may be a salesperson that says, once I sign up 5 deals, there's no way I should be, I'm on pace to make $300,000 this year. My mom and dad told me I'd never be anything. They're probably right. So this feels really uncomfortable. So I'm going to stop making calls or I'm going to go into the house and I'm going to purposely, not purposely, because this is all subconscious.
Yeah.
I'm going to, I'm going to mess up. Yeah, you have people in your organization that drink too much, that have marital problems, that are unhealthy, that are all affecting your productivity and your profitability. And it can all be healed and fixed in a matter of
Yeah, and
weeks.
I can probably relate even to my life. There are so many times when I built one business or another one. There's happened so many times. There is the momentum, there is that growth, and then over suddenly it stops, right? And like, and then you go back to like what happened, right? And you start looking at the KPIs, checklist. Let's see what 2 things we have changed in last quarter so it doesn't go. But then eventually you just realize like this, there is something above, there is something more to it. Why it's not happening. There's something on your subconscious level, like you say, there's just you sabotaging and just removing that momentum energy, not only from spreadsheets and KPIs and different scripts of market change or whatnot, right? And you're just starting believing, okay, this is what happened, this is what changed and that's what we stopped. Let's change this and we're going to move forward. Wouldn't you have to work internally and you remove that block that keeps you hostage? And I can remember many of times, and building remember the brokerage or being an agent myself or buying the houses. At some point, there is that limit, and it just hits you, and you cannot move forward. Even though you can hire consultants and go to mastermind, so read traction and team building, and it just doesn't move right. And it's so true, which is hard to grasp for us just with intellectual mind. No, that's amazing work, man, you're doing.
It is really hard to grasp. And now I was kind of saying when I look around at people, it's almost like the red pill, blue pill in the matrix. I'm not saying this because I'm conceited or I'm better than anyone else, but as I look around, I've gotten out of my invisible prison. Most of the world is still in their invisible prison from childhood. And it's so obvious to me how people get triggered and they're mad and they're cutting people off and why relationships blow up. It's so clear to me. But most of the world is going around just like I did for 47 years with blinders on, having no idea. I had no idea, Saul.
Yeah.
My childhood had so much impact on me, but it did. And it has impact on you and your wife and all the people in this world. It has an impact. So if you want to keep living and be like, oh, that's crap, it has nothing. No, your brain was programmed between the ages of 0 and 10. If you program the computer and you put in viruses, what do you think is going to happen 20 years down the road? It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
No difference with your brain. Your brain was actually, for the first 7 years, it was literally like in a hip brainwave state. It's called theta and delta. When you were being, those first 7 years, so you're just taking everything in. So your childhood is affecting you as a 20-year-old, a 50-year-old, and a 70-year-old until you recognize it. And now, anytime, and it doesn't happen often, I feel anxiety or I get angry. I immediately go back. We have this thing on our website called the Joy Regenerator. It's a free resource. It's a tool. It processes. You take a deep breath because if you're triggered, you're not in a present state. You're in fight or flight, which means you're thinking about the future or the past. You identify the emotion. I'm feeling sad. You give yourself compassion for the emotion, and then you figure out you ask yourself where did it come from. In my case, 100% of the time, Saul, anytime I'm in a negative behavior, it's because the old subconscious mind is trying to tell me I'm not enough. And I think is that thought, because a thought creates an emotion, is the thought I'm not enough true? And I say, no, it's not true. So why am I mad? And I'm like, I'm not. And then boom. Now, this used to take me with my ex-wives. They'd come to me, they'd trigger me. No, excuse me. I would be triggered by them. That's a fair way to say it. I would turn the argument on them. If they came and said, Brad, what you did really upset me. Well, you did this, 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 and this. That was the fight part. Then the flight part was for 3 days, I'd be cold and distant. It was like I had this weight on my chest and I couldn't go near them. Why was that? Because I was afraid that if I opened up, just like I did as a kid, bad things would happen. Everything changes when you can identify that all of your problems in life have nothing to do with the actual situation. It's from decades ago, and you're just bringing that meaning into the current situation.
Yeah, so true, so true. One thought came to my mind, which is probably similar going to be on that thinking, is in the last couple of years, I started putting more energy in thinking how grateful I am and how enough I have, because we as entrepreneurs, I think we wired that someone's going to take our cheese away. So we're trying to grab more and more territory. And unfortunately, it's not enough. And I've heard a beautiful story from one of my investors, Shai. Thank you, Shai. He shared with his mentor that it's really just putting in your mind, instead of, trying to build another trap to get more things, more. So you think you're going to get enough, which is never going to be enough. Actually focusing that amount of energy, putting how much you have and how grateful you are. And once you do that, you start pruning the garden. I'm telling myself I'm in a pruning garden my stage of my life. The things just show up, you don't have to grab more territory. The territory just comes to you, because you're just saying how enough you have and how grateful you are. So it's very different wiring, I think, but I think it goes in the same way that you're explaining that. Amazing. All right, so look, I want to also, if you can, this is really fascinating. After I hang up, I'm going to do the quiz, and you call. you have selling the client. But I think I just want to hear a little bit more about great breakthroughs, or maybe one or two amazing stories that you helped other entrepreneurs. If you have some, it would be amazing to hear what really those breakthroughs they have, or what life-changing, events you heard from your clients.
I mean, it's endless, right? The gentleman I referenced two people. Not only the person who had marital problems, not only is his marriage good, but now his wife and him are working on the business together. He continues to show up to the weekly meetings, and he just has continual breakthroughs. What did he say recently? Well, I can't share this because he hasn't shared this publicly, but just what happens is when we do these meditations at CG, actually, in the morning mindset, and things just come up, and something came up in his childhood that was like, oh my God, that's why I'm not being the best business leader that I can be. So that's a breakthrough. The other guy who I said was getting divorced, he's just like Brad. He's like, I used to be angry all the time, pissed off about everything. He goes, I just bounce around now. People are like attracted to me in the gym. Yoga is as like no one ever used to talk to me. Now they're just coming up to me, talking to me. I mean, those stories on and on and on. A lady who was going to check herself in for the hospital for depression. She was like clinically depressed. She's not depressed anymore. All from these thoughts that we are just buried in our subconscious. And look, again, to be clear, they're meant to help us. We've survived. Our brains have been around for 6 million years. 6 million years we've survived. So our subconscious mind has done a really, really good job keeping us alive. So out of those 6 million years, Saul, we have lived in tribes probably 98% of that time, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. 2,000 years ago, when you're in a tribe and you pissed off the tribe leader, what would happen to you?
They would probably kick me out from the tribe,
They would kick you,
I will die.
and then you will die. Okay. So when you're a kid, this is a true story. Another client whose complete leadership style has changed because he could not speak his mind. And why couldn't he speak his mind? When he was 5 years old, he wanted to do something. His mother wouldn't let him. He told her, I hate you. She cried for 2 hours. Dad gets home, spanks him, and says, don't ever make mommy feel that way. So what did that little boy say at 5 years old? If I am my authentic self,
Be kicked out.
I will piss off my mom. She's the tribe leader. My dad's mad. I'll get kicked out. So at 30 something years old, when he goes to confront an employee, he can't because his mind, just like the shaking bush I mentioned earlier, his mind is saying, wait. You cannot be authentic with this person because if you do, you might get kicked out of the tribe and die. So when I was shutting down with my former spouses, it was my brain saying, you can't go there. That may end up in death. Now, someone listening to this might be like, that is crazy. I'm going to tell you it's the truth. And it's the same reason why you're drinking 5 glasses of wine or a 12-pack of beer, or why you're smoking weed every night, or why you're 60 pounds overweight. It's the same story for all of you.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you, man, for sharing this. And I'm really excited to hear that you are guys doing that in Collective Genius. And a shout out to Jason Medley. And that's how we met, actually, in Collective Genius and with Brad. So that's awesome. So you're doing that practice, or call it technique, during the mastermind events, right?
We've had a lot of CG folks come through and have some major changes.
That's awesome. That's amazing. All right. I think we're at the top of the hour. I would like to wrap it up, and typically I wrap up with a personal question. If you're open to that, I have a stack of cards here, and usually pull one. So you have one pass if the question is not something you want to share, and I'm gonna pull another one. So if you're ready, the question is. What moves you to tears right now in your stage, in your at this moment right now in your life?
The realization just how good life is and that I've figured out the secret to life. And I just
Amazing.
shared it with you in the last half an hour. The secret to life is figuring out the limiting beliefs and the lies and the untruths that you've been telling yourself all your life that served you at one point in time, but are not serving you now and only negatively affecting you. You should have the ability to be your authentic self all the time without the use of weed and alcohol. You should be able to walk into a room and be comfortable and speak your mind and talk without worrying about who's going to judge me. And so many human beings spend their entire life worried about what are other people going to think. For 47 years, Saul, I said, I don't care what people think. I love myself, but they were all lies. I really did care about what people thought. Now I don't, because I have this inner peace. And I know that if someone judges me, laughs at me, makes fun of me, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with how they feel about themselves.
Amazing. Awesome, brother. So thank you for joining the show and sharing your wisdom. You always sharing. You always grabbing more life and going next level and getting another level of clarity, understanding. So thank for sharing with me and with my listeners. For everyone who wants to reach out to Brad, I'll post in the comments his social media profiles and the link to do the quiz. I'm gonna do the quiz myself after the show. Thank you, Brad. I really appreciate, and talk to you sometime soon again.
Thank you.